So who's your ideal customer then? Who are you targeting?
We when we first built it, we were trying to find that demographic, and so we put a lot of information out on the internet and got a lot of survey information back and realized that we couldn't really slice it in a demographic. It was really more of a psychographic around a large number of people want to have a positive impact on the world and like the idea of a zero emissions vehicle. A lot of people just like the idea of a motorcycle but have been too intimidated. So that's a big part of it. And then what we call aspirational riders. We think for every one of the people in the country who have a motorcycle license, there's 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 that have said, I've always wanted to have one, but.
You're going to that mindset, early adopter, I want to do something good for the world mindset. And I know with the Prius, and one reason they think the Prius has actually been successful is because of its unique design, because people who want to drive hybrid technology want people to know they're driving hybrid technology. So did that go into this? Did you have to, it's a motorcycle, but it can't look like a traditional motorcycle?
Exactly. That was one of the challenges, I would say, is we didn't want it to be a scooter, and we wanted it to be a real motorcycle. So we looked both at the past, at the heritage of motorcycles, and we wanted to somehow pull off both an homage to the past, the great motorcycling history, but clearly a slice of the future that you can own today. And we feel like we've succeeded in that because when we take it out to places where there's a lot of people that normally would not stop and talk or gawk or look at a motorcycle, stop and engage. So we're getting a lot of females, a lot of older people, kind of a broad spectrum. So that's one of the surprises is people look at it and they know it's something different, and then they quickly ask, is it electric or is it hybrid? We probably get the question, is it hybrid or where's the gas go? You know, and so when we tell them it's 100% electric, you plug it in anywhere, you plug in a laptop, the eyes get pretty big. People, you know, it takes them a moment to realize what they're seeing.
And how long does it take to charge?
It takes a little over 3 hours to charge, and that's with a normal outlet. So any place you can plug in a laptop. So the unique thing about this bike is the charging station is built in. So you don't have to go to a special charging station, although you can. You can just, anywhere you can run a regular cord into an outlet, which is available almost everywhere.
So you've made it easy for people.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And is that something, I mean, to get Americans to change is not easy.
Right.
I mean, is that something you have to do you think?
I think so. You know, we're very excited about all the stories about the infrastructure and the investment the government's making and rolling out infrastructure, but that's a number of years. So we said, what if we could sell 100,000 of these bikes to people and reduce the emissions by £1 billion before the infrastructure is even starting to roll out? So we think this is the opportunity for people that want to do something right now and make a difference and have a blast doing it.
The other thing is you're not selling these at dealerships, at traditional motorcycle or automotive dealerships. You're selling them at Best Buy. Why?
When we first designed the bike, some of the inspiration behind it, Brian, our designer, said, you know, it's a motorcycle, but it's also something else. And so we started looking at the great industrial designs of consumer electronics. And of course, Apple showed up, and we opened up a server from Apple, and it was as gorgeous on the inside as the outside. So we thought that's a pretty good idea, is to build something that's gorgeous from a consumer electronics standpoint. And then after we built the first prototype and we had a second set of parts laying around on the floor for the bike, it just kind of hit me and the team here. There's no motor, there's no gas, there's no plumbing, there's a bunch of black boxes, there's batteries, there's power supplies. Except for the wheels and tires, this looks like a server or a big pile of consumer electronics. And the light kind of went off. It's like, okay, this is a computer or consumer electronics you ride. So how do we sell a product like that? Because it's not going to have the rumble, it's not going to have the flames on the tank, it's not going to have the things that you think of when you go to a traditional motorcycle store. So we started thinking about and brainstorming on who would be the best people to sell consumer electronics. And to be honest, we thought of Sears and Target and Costco and Sam's Club, all those things. Sears already sells tires and batteries. Aren't they a natural one?
what are you going to do about the sound? I mean, because it's quiet, which is great,
Right.
but if you're a motorcycle enthusiast, you want that rumble.
Yeah, you know, to be 100% candid, the first time I rode the bike, I got on it and I thought, this is going to be a cool thing, but I have Ducatis and Harleys and I'm going to miss that. And the biggest surprise as I rode it around Ashland and downtown and back was suddenly you actually had a sense back that you lose in motorcycling. You put on a helmet and you have a rumble. You're pretty much isolated from the world. You don't hear pedestrians. You don't hear screeching tires. More than once, I've not heard an ambulance approaching, so, you know, with a loud motorcycle. So all of a sudden I realized it's actually a different kind of exhilaration. There's exhilaration to having a Harley when you twist the throttle and having acceleration. But with this, you actually get that acceleration, but it feels almost like effortless propulsion. And so it brought me back to a couple of times like when I was a kid and I stood on the pedals of the bike and put my arms out, flew down the hill. That's a little bit of the feeling you get here.
When people think about motorcycles, it's aggression, it's power, it's speed, but there's something else that happens when you ride a motorcycle that you think that happens when you ride a motorcycle that this captures.
Yeah.
You described it as zen?
Yeah, there's a very, two-wheeling in general is a sense of freedom, and the idea of turning and following twisty roads and things like that is an exhilarating experience on this. And we've had more than one motorcycle rider who test drove it, who's had maybe 30 motorcycles, and then they come back and they're completely surprised and they say, that's actually maybe the most pure motorcycling experience I've had, because the leaning and the tilting and the exhilaration of the ride itself is not clouded up by the noise and the rumble and even the vibration. There's no vibration on this bike. It's super smooth, and it feels like riding a bike without having to pedal.
Mm-hmm. So it strips you down to the essence of the experience?
Well said.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
You also wanted to make sure this bike was assembled in this country?
Yes.
Why?
You know, call it a patriotic or whatever. I really love the idea of creating jobs in the U.S.